It's Wednesday, August 8th, and I'm your host, Paula Hersey. On today's show, we have Tails a Wagon in anticipation of the Barnstable Dog Park opening this fall, get a real estate lesson on the town's surplus property, and we have a special look back at Unity Day. Let's start with some news you can use. Cape Light Compact is offering discounts of up to 90% on energy efficiency upgrades for the eligible businesses that participate in an assessment. Through Columbus Day, October 8th, businesses on Cape Cod and Martha's Vineyard that use up to 1.5 million kilowatt hours annually may take advantage of the offer. Discounted upgrades may include high-performance LED lamps and fixtures, wall or ceiling occupancy fixtures, programmable thermostats, vending machine controls, refrigeration, or water conservation products. Eligible businesses must contact Cape Light Compact at 1-800-797-6699 by October 5th to schedule an energy efficiency assessment at their facility. If you bark it, the humans will build it, say the dogs of Barnstable. We met town architect Mark Marianaccio over at the entrance to Hathaway's Pond area, the new site for the Barnstable Dog Park, for a construction update. Woof! The Barnstable Dog Park, construction's moving right along. With me today, town architect Mark Mariaccio. We're almost there. We're standing on the parking lot, or the base of the parking lot. Give us a little update on the project. When did this start?
Last fall, we signed a contract and started clearing the site. There were some concerns by the contractor that we worked through over the course of a couple of months. He's back on site. You can see over the past 2-3 weeks we've made some good progress here, put the base down for the road. What you don't see is over here was a huge hole of about 8-9 feet that's been filled with material, and we're ready to put in our granite curbs, our sidewalk, and our fence, and our stone surface, and we'll be good to go.
All the puppies in Barnstable will have a place to play.
Yes, this has been one of the most this project has generated a lot of interest from the public.
Right. So let's talk about how the project actually got funded, because I don't think people realize that this was a grant.
Yeah, this was a grant from the Stanton Foundation, who they give money for dog parks all over the state. We applied, and they granted us $125,000 to put this dog park together. And
this has some features to the dog park. It's not just a fence that, you know, you come in with your dog and you let them loose. Give us some of the features of the construction.
Yeah, that's right, Paula. Basically, the dog park is being made up of 3 distinct areas. There's going to be a small dog area, a medium, large dog area, and a training area. We've also incorporated a stone dust path along the outside, so if somebody brings their dog here and they're a little excitable, they can walk them around the dog park a little bit to get them acclimated to the area before they actually release them inside.
Right. And we all know that dogs need water. Yes. What are we going to do for water for the dogs?
Well, we've tied into the water service here, and we have 3 drinking fountains for people and for dogs, so there will be water here.
Excellent. All fenced in. How high are the fences?
It's a 5-foot high fence. Went through a number of iterations. 3 feet was good for viewing, but dogs can jump over that. And then, of course, 6 or 7 feet's kind of too high. You don't want to make it look like a kennel.
Right. And the organization that's kind of going to do the care and maintenance of this once it's finished?
Yeah, that's the Barnstable Dog Park Group. Okay. They actually did a study, and I think they were the ones who pushed the dog park project forward. I had some interest from the town manager, and we acquired funding from the Stanton Foundation. So they had done a study, and this was really based off of their study.
That's fantastic. We're almost there. Projected timeline?
We're saying the end of August, beginning of September, we should be operational.
Absolutely perfect. Maybe it'll be before the 15th so we can get our dogs in here before they can get back to the beach.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Mark.
You're welcome.
David Anthony, Director of Property and Risk Management, and Assistant Town Manager Andy Clyburn joined us in the hearing room to update us on the sale of 20 surplus properties and the plans for more. Here at the town of Barnstable, there's some properties that have been abandoned or gifted to the town. Recently, there was a survey of those properties to bring them back on the tax rolls. Here to talk about it today, gentlemen, welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
So let's do a little backtracking here and talk about how these properties got found and what type of survey there was to catalog them.
Sure. The bulk of the properties that we're dealing with right now are called tax possession properties. And there's a long, complicated process that basically starts with someone who owns the property, for whatever reason, stops paying taxes on those property. And the taxes are very important. It's the lifeblood of our community. It goes into the general fund, and it funds everything from schools to police to beaches and all the other good stuff that we need to have to make government run. So when people stop paying taxes, there is a tax lien process where you are put on notice, and per Mass General Law, you are charged interest on that back tax. Well, there are times when circumstances require someone to come in and do a payment plan because they can't afford the taxes. But many times there are just simply abandoned properties. Someone decides they can't do anything with it. It's a scrap, it's a sliver, and there isn't much they can do, so they walk away from it. Well, after a period of time trying to collect those back taxes, we engage in a tax foreclosure where we literally take possession because someone has stopped paying taxes, and it involves the state and the state courts and the land court. It's a very complicated, expensive process, so we don't enter into it lightly. However, we have accumulated over the past 4 decades an inventory of about 100 properties that fell into this category. And because it is also complicated to dispose of them, they have sat. And at the direction of the town council, this current town council has really pushed to try to get us to focus more on these assets, underperforming assets specifically, to try to get them back performing. And one of the ways to do that would be to sell them, put them back on the tax rolls, and start to generate new taxes.
So, Andy, that's kind of like having a portfolio in government of property, correct?
Absolutely. Those 140 parcels are part of a much larger portfolio that we have. The town of Barnstable has over 1,000 parcels.
Wow.
In different categories. About half of those are municipal. About half of those are conservation, open space type parcels. So when we started to address these particular parcels, we were looking at a very small segment, but it really is the tip of the iceberg. When we talk about asset management, portfolio management, we should be evaluating parcel by parcel all of our parcels and determining what assets are essential, non-essential, knowing what we have, where we have it, what we need to do. As David mentioned, is it performing, is it not performing, or is it either contributing to the strategic goals of the town, or is it generating revenue that exceeds costs? So, this effort, like David mentioned, is specific to tax possession, but we're very optimistic moving forward as we put more emphasis on asset management, that we're able to look at our entire portfolio, which for the town of Barnstable is vast.
Right, and that would include places like the schools that are no longer functioning at this point in time, those
Correct.
types of things. Those are town assets at this point in time.
Absolutely.
Okay. So how'd you survey all of these? I mean, did you have to look through all the books of taxes? And it seems like a daunting job.
Well, we have an excellent GIS department that has created a very user-friendly, for both the public and for town employees, the ability to take a look at maps parcel by parcel and really drill down into how it was acquired. There was an initiative a couple of years ago where some interns came in and actually helped populate our property management database that put the deeds of record associated with many of those properties into a readily accessible database. So as we started to cull them down, and you take the conservation properties out and the airport properties and the school properties, and you're left with a much smaller chunk. And then you take the active municipal properties, for example, the parcel that we're on, the beaches, the waste to water. And as you winnow it down, you get down to a much smaller group. So as daunting as it might be to go through all of them, you really only had to start with that smaller amount. Now, it doesn't mean that we won't go back in and take a look at properties. Certainly there's some in that group that might make sense to go to conservation. They might make sense to put next to a municipal property. DPW might want to retain one of those properties for a future pump station if they expand sewers. So there's a lot of communication with all the departments about which ones we're going to dispose of. And we also have the guidance of the Asset Management Advisory Committee, which is a body of 5 town councilors that have given us some guidance and some strategic goals as to how to go about doing this. The idea here is it's an open process. There's a lot of communication. There's some starts and stops. You find out the reason we got a property is because it was a very complicated ownership issue, and it was abandoned because there were too many relatives, there were too many heirs, And we've run into a couple of situations where there were mistakes that were made, and because they never got cleared properly, they just have lingered and gotten moldy. And that's going to take some effort to clear up. But I really think that this is a great start. It's an opportunity for us to develop some success, a track record of success in managing these assets. And it's also generating some revenue.
Right. So you have some clean deeds. What do? Call Sotheby's and say, "Hey, I got some property for sale." How do you operate as a real estate agent as a town?
Well, we actually can't
You know,
operate.
are you doing show?
We're
you
not
know?
real estate.
No,
No.
right,
As you can see
exactly.
by how long the process has taken,
Right.
and we haven't done this in the past to this magnitude.
Right.
So I think it's been a real opportunity going through with these first 20 parcels to get the process in place. And
Right.
there's definitely lessons that we've learned along the way.
Sure. That'll help
the next phase,
Absolutely.
and
Next phase
subsequent
to that.
phases. Absolutely.
So those, do they kind of like the town properties that you may be disposing of, they go through a request for proposal type of option? People from the community, businesses, things like that, if they see the property, they can bid on it? I'm curious. I don't know how that process works.
That's exactly how it.
It is?
Exactly,
Oh,
yeah.
how about that?
So Mass General Law, which dictates so much of what we do in town government, has a specific way that a town has to dispose of property. No doubt in the wild and woolly days of the 40s and 50s, there were backroom deals, but so much of government now since the 80s has been set on this open and transparent process. So we have to multiple times declare its surplus. We have to do a public bid. We have to open the bids publicly. We have to publish the results so that nobody can think that this was done in the dark of night or because somebody knew somebody. It really has to be done in an open and efficient way. And because we're not realtors, this is a way of our putting out this asset and saying, whoever gives us the highest bid can now take ownership of this, or we can sit down and negotiate with you. In some cases, we can do municipal auctions, very much like a bank would do a foreclosure auction. But the property has to be the right property in order to take advantage of that method as well.
Okay. Next steps. I mean, again, you say you're learning from these processes. So as the first 20 go out the door, what's the next steps? How are you going to manage this process? It seems like an enormous amount of time, you know, with all the protocols that you have to manage through the state and through, you know, open and transparency government.
Well,
Well, the bids closed in March.
Okay.
It's now July, and all closings for those. We've been working with land conveyance attorneys and the attorneys for all of the winning bidders, and they're all closing in July. So that's a win for us. We're going to have 20 parcels close. We're generating around $450,000, $470,000 from that, and then the future benefit of taxes, obviously.
Right.
So really, this month of July is focused on getting those purchase and sale agreements in place and closing with those, and then going to the next phase. You know, we really focused on what we thought were the cleanest, easiest parcels to start with of those
Right.
140, and it came down to 20. So now we're working with the asset management committee and determining what's next, what group is next. But I think that we're going to identify another group of properties and go through the due diligence to get them clean. If it makes sense to
Right.
put them out for bid, that's
And that's, it seems more manageable when you're going 20 or 30 properties at a time rather than that bulk of 140.
oh yeah, yeah.
Excellent. Anything else you want residents to know about this process?
Well, I think people will sometimes see a piece of property that's municipal and they will call up and they'll make an inquiry in it. And our office fields those kinds of inquiries all the time. People will ask because it's overgrown or it looks abandoned. The grass may not have been mowed. And we welcome the public reaching out to us because that is one way that we find out about properties and what our priorities need to be. We also encourage the public, if they have a piece of property that they don't want any longer, would like to make a gift, would like to do a tax donation, would like to sell it to us, to avoid having to go through that lengthy, costly process of a foreclosure, we can accept gifts. Obviously, we're not going to take every property because what we don't want to do is develop another inventory over the next decade of properties that we can't use either.
Right.
But at the same time, there might be opportunities next to a parking lot where parking could be expanded or a green space could be made. There are a number of different opportunities over the past 20 years where we have taken property in and turned it into something useful for everyone to benefit.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Unity Day is the brainchild of brothers Andre and Jesse Barboza from Hyannis, who first reached out to former police chief Paul McDonald in 2016, seeking to engage officers within the community that they serve. Hundreds gathered on the town green on last Friday afternoon to celebrate Unity Day, an annual event that connects members of the community to the Barnstable Police Department and the town. It was started in 2016 by the People of Action, a local mentoring group for youth in the Barnstable community. Free hot dogs, hamburgers, children's games, and dancing on the Hyannis Green were some of the highlights of the afternoon. But the dunk tank and a Hug Me soda machine were the stars of the event.
Oh, I think this is wonderful. This is the third Unity Day, and what makes it so special is that the young men who came together to organize the Unity Day and how it initiated it. It came about because of all the turmoil that was going around the country with police officers and men of color that were clashing, and these young men got together with the law enforcement here in Barnstable and decided that they wanted to bring the groups together and show some unity, and that's what this day is about. And it just brought the whole community together to say, you know, we appreciate our law enforcement people, and we should be working with them, and law enforcement needs to know us and know them, and change that image of young males of color, that they are productive, and they are here in the community, and they do care. It's a very caring community. It's a beautiful community, and a beautiful day that the Lord has given us out here today. So I'm proud of the group of young men that are putting this together, and I'm very proud of my community, and that today I'm able to be a part of it.
Stay, Jesse.
You know, this is turning into one of my favorite days of the year. Just having everybody from the community come out and be a part of something positive, it's awesome. Well, I hope that more people just want to get involved with their community, whether it's volunteering, coaching a team, or just all around being a positive person and really showing pride in where you're from. And you know, when we do things like that, I mean, great things can happen.
Mean to you.
Oh, community is everything. I can't run my school without community. Our students that we have come from all over Hyannis, and I've seen many of them today with their families. They run up to me like I just saw them yesterday, and it's amazing. I have people I went to high school with. I graduated from Barnstable High School, so I have people I graduated with, people I know from the community, people I know from Hyannis West. It's just a wonderful way to get everyone together. They can have law enforcement be a safe place and safe people to go to, and that's what we need to promote, is that they're here to help and support. And we try to have law enforcement come into our building as much as we can so that they can see the positive side of that. Because they hear things out in the community, but we want to tell them the positive side of it, and that they're here to help, and that they should be able to go to them and feel
Great
supported.
job out here. It gets bigger every year. The Barbozas and the Men of Action have done a fantastic job down here. They really have. It's getting the community involved in everything we do, and getting us involved in things they do. Because in the end, you know, I tell people all the time, we don't know if there's a problem out there unless you talk to us. But sometimes talking to us isn't like the easiest thing for some people to do. So breaking down a little bit of those barriers and having people be a little more approachable, and to say that, yeah, I really can talk to these people and, you know, get my point across, or, you know, so when they get in that position where they have to call us, they're not so hesitant to call. You know, we're there, you know.
the sense of the similarities that we all have while respecting each other's differences, I think really contribute to the vibrancy that exists in Barnstable, and we see that every day at the senior centre. Just being down here on the village green is an amazing experience despite the heat. You know, just getting to interact with people of all ages, you know, and see the connections and just a sense of camaraderie and excitement and energy is something that we try and, you know, replicate all the time at the senior centre, right, Judith?
That's right. And I think this really shows that the senior center isn't just an isolated entity. We're very much a part of the community and very intergenerational.
Exactly what you said. It's community. We're all together. We're having fun. People are finding commonalities in everyday life. You know, this reminds me of the Cape Cod that I grew up on. You know, that where we have everybody coming together. People aren't afraid of one another, and they are finding a way to break bread, have a meal together, play games together, sometimes dunking a police officer together, and it's just a wonderful opportunity. It does take a lot of planning. Fortunately, there are a lot of arms that take different parts of it. The Barnstable Police Department, the People of Action, you know, there were certain elements that they wanted to make sure were included. Being the town, we wanted to make sure that special parts of our town were highlighted, so we're thrilled that we have the Gateway Greeters here with Park Happy. We have the taxidermy trailer from Marine Environmental Affairs. Senior Services, they're painting kindness rocks. We have folks from all over with recreation helping playing games, and it's just a really fun, old-fashioned kind of time. But I think that people are understanding that our police officers, it's been a very different world of late. And to see everybody just having a great time, I think is really special. It's the community.
Here's a great event on the community calendar. Come join the low-impact cardio and strength training class for all levels at the Barnstable Senior Center Thursday, August 9th from 10 to 11 a.m. Build strength and energy, become more social, move with friends, increase your flexibility and balance. This is an active class, all choreographed to your favorite music for those that want to push themselves to get into better shape and feeling their best. Just bring your sneakers and a smile. Here's a look at this week's schedule for commissions, committees, and boards. Comments, suggestions, accolades? Connect with us on Facebook, email us, or send us an old-fashioned note by carrier pigeon. Channel 18 works. For you. I'm Paula Hersey, and thank you for watching Barnstable Today.